Um, the Republicans are blaming Biden for inflation, but are they right? No, they're not. Um, while the Democrats struggle to pass Joe Biden's what they call social and climate change agenda, repugs have been pelting them with the repeated accusation that his policy initiatives are driving up inflation and making life costlier for Americans, which it's not. The U.S. Consumer Price Index has risen at more than a 5% annual rate for the past 4 months in a row, while the economy suffers from labor and supply shortages that's caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. The Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen predicted late last month that inflation would remain higher into next year. Now, no relief in sight as a direct result of flooding the country with money. This is what Senate Minority Leader Moscow Mitch, the chamber's top repug, told reporters last week. The last thing that we need to do is pile on with another massive reckless tax and spending spree. But Moscow Mitch spoke during a 13-minute news conference during which he and his leadership team, I don't know how you would call them a leadership team, I call them an inbred team, made at least 24 references to inflation and rising costs or costs and prices. But are the Republicans right to blame the higher prices on Biden and the Democrats? Not entirely, but what's happening around the globe here? The United States is hardly alone. A headline measure that was tracked by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development shows inflation across the 38 member countries running at the highest level since 2008, and lifted in no small part by the global surge in energy prices. Oil prices alone have quadrupled in the last 18 months as energy demand recovered with economics reopening from COVID-19 shutdowns. But what about stimulus spending? The main repug argument against Biden is that his multi-trillion-dollar legislative agenda makes inflation worse by flooding the economy with government spending and promising much more. His agenda includes a $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan. Also in it is and it requires all United States adults to be eligible for vaccines by May. By May, some normalcy coming by summer. The only plank so far enacted in a yet to pass $1 trillion infrastructure bill. After that will come his Build Back Better plan. Schumer and Manchin continuing the talks with Biden and Delaware. Source of 2021 on October 24th. Social and climate spending package, which is anticipated to cost around 1.75 million, or 7.5 trillion. Sorry. The annual inflation rates for dozens and dozens of goods routinely purchased by American households, which include food, were already at their highest levels in a decade before Biden entered the White House earlier this year. But that's in large part because of the COVID-19 relief spending enacted under, the Republican squatter Donald Trump. With overwhelming Republican support in the Senate, it exceeds what the Democrats have allocated so far by roughly $1 trillion. That money kept household balance sheets intact during the crisis and allowed consumers to keep spending despite the double-digit unemployment. And moreover, household savings rocketed to unprecedented levels that was providing tinder for more spending on activities like dining out and travel once those became widely popular again and available. Repugs point to concerns raised by former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, who was a Democrat who warned in February in a Washington Post op-ed that basically he says Larry Summers and the Biden COVID stimulus that Biden's American Rescue Plan could fuel the inflation. But other economists, including Mark Zandi of Moody Analytics, said that the macro economy consequences infrastructure have since said that the Biden agenda is more likely to lift the economy's long-term growth prospects and ease the inflation. Republicans claim that Biden's COVID-19 vaccine mandates, which will deliver a 6-step plan for the COVID-19 on September 9th of 2021 for most federal workers and for private business with more than 100 employees, are exacerbating an actual labor shortage at a time when the inflationary pressures are affecting both wages. It is true that employment and workforce growth have slowed in the recent months and that employers are struggling to find workers, but there were 10.4 million job openings in August that was near a record high. but the deadline for complying with the vaccine mandate is still more than a month off, and no firm data exists to validate this assertion, though a number of large companies have begun voicing concerns about their ability to retain and hire workers because of this. Now, others like United Airlines, United Airlines says that more than 99 U.S. employees have been vaccinated since September 28th of 2021, and they said that they saw a surge in applications for employment after adopting their vaccine mandates. The mandates are aimed at protecting the Americans from COVID-19 at a time when only 67% of the U.S. population has received at least one dose of a vaccine, according to Reuters, the COVID-19 vaccine tracker. The repugs allege the mandates are forcing workers who refuse to be vaccinated out of the labor force. Not the case. While thousands of workers are workers that face layoffs for the U.S. COVID-19 vaccine mandates across the United States do face potential job losses. Vaccine resistance is strongest in the Republican-led states, where it has been largely reinforced by the Republican officials. But what did enhance the unemployment benefits do? What did the enhanced unemployment benefits do? The Republicans argued that exorbitant handouts, the fixed supply chain crisis incentives, return to work, Rep Hearn and Rep Harshberger from the federal government, and which included a $300 weekly federal pandemic unemployment benefit, but also they have contributed to the labor shortage and the rise in inflation. Those unemployment payments, which ended nationally in September, appear to have had limited impact on labor market participation. The mostly Republican-led states that blocked the payments added jobs in August at less than half the pace. Basically that. But what effect are the supply chain woes having? Republicans also want to blame Biden for the supply chain shortage that has contributed to inflation. But experts say that the COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted every aspect of the global supply chain. Like the few options, like the G7 trade chiefs alleviate supply pinch, and assist from manufacturing and transportation to logistics, and not only in the United States but worldwide. At the time when the pandemic also has sparked a buying spree. The problem is partially due to a decades-old business strategy that aims to keep inventories lean. So basically, that's all Republicans' fault. So if you like the video, give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, RBW King, and also hit the notification bell so that you know if a new video comes out. And thanks for listening.